Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to my for now unnamed podcast, YouTube cast, webcast, whatever you want to call it. I honestly don't know and don't care right now. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about something that's been on my mind for a bit, and I want to get it out there into the ether. Today, I want to talk a little about the sentence that sounds like or comes out as "You suck if you can't coach X," or "You suck as a coach if you can't do X." Maybe depends on who you are and depends on what we're talking about. I think for everyone out there that's coaching and training, you really should be able to coach a few things: squats, push ups, a proper hinge pattern, a proper row, and a few other dribs and drabs. But those are the basics. And there are coaches that are, and even sometimes it's not a coach's fault because there are certifications out there, unfortunately, that just go from a book to your coaching and training. And that is not a good idea, but it's where we're at. And for the most part, there are ways to bridge that gap, and a lot of things are in place to help potential coaches, potential trainers go from the book to coaching people up. But unfortunately, that doesn't exist everywhere. So if it's one of those types of situations, then maybe they suck, maybe they don't. Let's give them time, and hopefully, and someone put a shoulder around them, and let's help bring them along. On the other side of it, there are some very advanced things, and even somewhat advanced things that are out there in our universe of fitness and weightlifting and so on and so forth, that if you aren't good at it, then might not be that big a deal, depending on who you're working with, what your you know what your strategies are otherwise. And you know yeah, again, like, I guess really comes down to who you're working with. And for me, like, I would, beyond the basics, I would not necessarily be able to get super advanced into how to use a weightlifting belt. It's I'm not a power lifter myself. I lift weights so I can feel less like crap. And once upon a time, I lifted weights so I could play rugby without falling apart. That was my gist. So I never got into that level of lifting. And most of my people don't do that. And so I've never had the need. Doesn't mean if it were to come up where someone had interest in getting into a powerlifting competition, should I be able to coach them into it? Yeah, time to do my homework. Okay, fair. On the other side of it, I have a decent amount of experience, not a vast amount of experience, but a decent amount of experience with Olympic lifts. And I think there are some people that could not coach their way out of a paper bag when it comes to Olympic lifts. That does not mean they suck. It probably means that they should avoid them. And should they get into a situation where they have someone that's interested in Olympic lifts, one, study up on it. Possibility. Some people are not going to bother because it's just not something that they're comfortable doing, nor do they want to. Fine. Then you go find someone else and say, all right, this person's going to take care of you, and they'll teach you how to do this stuff. That sometimes that's what it is. So I don't think uh it's always a gray area. It's, that middle ground. There's the 10% on one side and the 10% on the other side where it's black and white. But other than that, it's this middle ground where depends, because maybe, what about this? What about that? All these dog, uh, all these weird things that are possible. And with that, I want to make sure that we're not telling good coaches and trying to put coaches down because you know they can't do this. And I'm not saying Olympic weightlifting and being able to use a weight belt and a power lift is minutia, but these more detailed and more advanced things does not mean the person is terrible as a coach. Really, We talk about how good can the coach connect with someone. Sometimes that makes them a really good coach. Now, if they can't do much beyond that, then they have a problem. But if they can connect and then they can make the athlete, client, person, you know, alien, whatever, understand and how to do what they're trying to get them to do, that makes them a pretty good coach. Whether or not they know the ins and outs of a weight belt or the ins and out of uh, a clean and jerk doesn't necessarily make them a bad coach, and doesn't mean that certainly does not mean they suck. And so I think that's one of those things where it's like, let's put that caveat, but you know, depending on, so on and so forth, things like that. So that's what's on my mind today. I hope that everyone has enjoyed as I've continued to go on with this thing, and I'm going to obviously continue to pick it up. Maybe I'll try for every 2 weeks now that I'm not coaching a high school rugby team for 3 hours a day every day. But appreciate everyone for listening. Make sure that you subscribe, comment below for any questions. Don't forget to follow me over on Instagram. The handle's down in the show notes in the caption here. But thank you very much, everyone, and have yourself a heck of a week.